So it turns out if you are Utah's Attorney General, it's so perfectly okay to jet set and party and have no scrutiny. That's one of our biggest headlines today on the Utah Stories Top 5. Thanks for joining me. My name is Rich Markosian. A couple of our other headlines are, is the Jordan River going to flood this year? It actually started flooding in South Jordan. Will we see floods like we did last year? Highway closures ensue with afternoon winds. Are the Olympics going to bring more passenger trains to Utah? And what is Utah's best kept subterranean secret? But before we get to our headlines, check out the offer we've got right now to subscribe to Utah Stories magazine. You can visit utahstories.com, and for $3 a month, we can send the voice of local Utah directly to your home. Why should you subscribe to a print magazine? Because big tech cannot filter or censor print material. We've had a debate whether or not we should print a magazine because it's expensive and it takes a lot of resources. It kills trees. But this is something big tech cannot censor. And in order to connect with the local community and support local journalism, you can support Utah Stories for $3 a month. Okay, let's dive into our first headline and story. Is the Jordan River going to flood this year? So residents living along the Jordan River are facing challenges due to rising water levels caused by increased releases from Utah Lake. This has led to concerns about potential flooding in communities along the river's path. In one neighborhood in South Jordan, residents are taking action to protect their homes, including redirecting water and implementing safety measures like water alarms and backup pumps. However, erosion along the riverbank and the sheer volume of water remain significant threats. Water managers are working to alleviate pressure on Utah Lake, which is currently at capacity, but downstream communities are bracing for the impact of the rising water levels. The floodgates of Utah Lake were opened about a month ago for the first time since 2011, exacerbating the situation. Our next headline: the Utah Department of Transportation issued an emergency alert ahead of high wind warnings. It's blowing like crazy right now at our studio in Holiday. The strong winds are now capable of overturning high-profile vehicles. This is expected only along I-15 between Bountiful and Brigham City, where big rigs need to watch out. This was started at around 10 a.m., and it's lasting. The high wind warning is lasting through Friday morning. Travel was deemed hazardous for high-profile vehicles and those pulling trailers, with restrictions expected and enforced by the Utah Highway Patrol. The National Weather Service upgraded the storm assessment to major, affecting Salt Lake, Davis, Weber, Box Elder counties. It just seems like every time we think spring is coming, we get another blast of wind followed by a storm, and I'm looking at my weather app every day, and that's not being predicted, so it's kind of strange. It's the same cycle every week, it seems like. All right, so are the Olympics going to bring more passenger trains to Utah? If Salt Lake City hosts the 2034 Winter Olympic Games, it could lead to new infrastructure upgrades in Utah, prompting discussions about improving passenger rail service. Governor Spencer Cox expressed support for expanding passenger rail, highlighting discussions with U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg on federal investments in rail infrastructure. Cox plans to collaborate with local leaders to develop long-term vision for the state transportation, including potential rail expansions like the Rio Grande plan to connect Salt Lake City to Park City. The city leaders are open to exploring such ideas, emphasizing the importance of making generational investments in transportation. My favorite Onion headline of all time is 90% of people support transit, but for everybody else. So the problem is we love our cars. We can't get out of our cars, and we love the idea of transit and rail, but we just can't get out of our cars. And so I don't know what we can do to incentivize it more, because I just spent $7,000 on a timing belt and all these things I had to do because my car is almost 100,000 miles that I bought just 4 years ago. And it's like, I want to get out of my car, but I don't see a viable way to get to my office using transit. I don't see enough transit to get me from point A to point B. So will that change? We lived in the UK for a year, and transit was awesome there. Everybody relied on transit. Everybody used it because there's no parking downtown. You had to use it. I don't think anybody's going to use it until you have to use it. So that's just my 2 cents about it. All right. What is Utah's best kept subterranean secret? Neff's Cave, located near Neff's Canyon, which is right up. If I open the window right now, I could see it. It's just off the Wasatch Mountains. It's part of Mount Olympus wilderness area. It holds a storied history and a technical challenges to make it renowned among experienced cavers worldwide. It was discovered in 1949 by teenage brothers John and Jamie Lyon. The cave's hidden entrance initially captivated adventurous explorers. However, a misadventure left John and his friends trapped inside for 3 days, highlighting the cave's dangers. Situated deep under Mount Olympus, Neff's Caves plunges 1,163 feet deep into the earth, ranking as the 15th deepest cave in North America and the second deepest in Utah. Its vertical fissure presents a significant technical challenge requiring specialized gear and extensive caving experience for safe exploration. Despite its allure, access is strictly regulated by the U.S. Forest Service and Timpanogos Grotto due to safety concerns and the need to protect delicate resources. For those fortunate enough to gain access, exploring Neff's Cave is a thrilling, unforgettable experience characterized by rappelling into its abyss, navigating its dark passages, illuminated only by headlights. It's totally awesome. It used to be there was a cave up here called the Nutty Putty Cave, and then, very unfortunate, one kid got stuck in the Nutty Putty Cave, and that was it. There was no more access to that cave. There were rumors of a crystal cave right up above here, right up above where I grew up, and Crystal Cave supposedly was this massive subterranean fortress, and we were always looking for the entrance to that cave when I was a kid growing up. Nobody ever found it. And then one kid said he got inside and he looked around. And we think he was lying. I don't think he was telling the truth, honestly. But you can find caves, some really incredible caves up in the Wasatch Mountains. And if you want more details on that story in particular, Neff's Cave, where to find it, how to get there, go to utahstories.com and watch and read the entire story by Dave Jensen. Okay, and our leading top story, jet setting and partying and hunting wild hogs from a helicopter are apparently still okay if you're the Attorney General in Utah. Lawmakers in Utah were considering reforms to increase transparency and oversight of the Attorney General's office following scrutiny over frequent travels and management of his nonprofit. While some legislators advocated for changes such as appointing the Attorney General instead of electing them to avoid conflicts of interest, little was accomplished during the recent legislative session to alter the status quo. However, an ongoing investigation of the office's cultural and potential conflicts led to future changes. One significant measure that did pass was HB 380, which extends the ban on outside legal work in the state's attorney general to the state's attorney general. Other proposed legislation, such as HB 545, aimed at disclosing out-of-state travel expenses, top officials said. But the concerns were raised about transparency when the legislature passed SB 240, preventing public access to calendars. So that's the thing. If we don't have access to our public officials' calendars, of course we don't know. We don't know where they're going, who's on whose dime. So if that measure is not passed, which they don't want passed, they want that to remain private information, then of course we're never going to know, and they obviously don't want it to be known. And so this will lead me to the event that we're having in tomorrow, which I'm going to get to. But first, before that, the question of the day. So the big thing that came out of the legislative session was that we are going to give tax subsidies in the billions of dollars to the Larry H. Miller family and the Ryan Smith family for their dreams of bringing NHL hockey stadium to Salt Lake, as well as a Major League Baseball stadium to Salt Lake. Nobody would say those wouldn't be wonderful. Of course, everybody would want to watch Major League Baseball in Salt Lake, including myself, and have this really cool river walk I don't dispute that for a second, but here's what I dispute. What is the biggest, greatest need of their constituents? What is the biggest, greatest need of residents in Utah right now, especially Gen Zs and iGens? It's affordable housing. So what if instead of subsidizing those billionaires with billions of dollars, we subsidize the building of affordable housing for Gen Zs and younger folks? Like, what if all that money, there's 100 acres set aside right on the Jordan River in the Power District, what if we use that 100 acres just to build affordable housing? Wouldn't that go farther than by subsidizing billionaires to bring Major League Baseball and a hockey arena to Salt Lake City? That's my question of the day. I would actually like to hear from you. Like, if I'm wrong, if those stadiums would somehow be a lot better than affordable housing for the general population, go ahead. But I don't see how Gen Z folks are moving out of their parents' basements, or iGens, or my, whatever you would call my little daughter's generation. How are they going to move out of their parents' basements if we don't really make that a priority? So I'd like to hear from you. Feel free to comment below. And remember, so I said the state legislature does not want transparency. They don't want to hear from you. The Salt Lake City Council, likewise, does not want to hear from you. They eliminated public commenting. So we want to hear from you. We are the voice of local Utah. We take our mission and that call to action seriously. We want to hear your voice, your grievances about Salt Lake City government or Utah in general. You can come to our event. It's tomorrow night. It's at Shades Brewing. It's our first event like this we've ever done. We've put on a bunch of big festivals. We put on a premiere of a documentary film last year. Our turnout was amazing, and I'm sure it'll be a great turnout. But you need to reserve your ticket right now because space is running out. It's limited. We have Sobe Eats food truck, who's going to be providing this incredible food, ceviche tacos, these really amazing tacos. And then, of course, Shades Brewing will have awesome beer on tap that we can enjoy. And so go out to utahstories.com, reserve your seat right now, and tell us if you would like to reserve a spot to speak for 5 minutes. Rocky Anderson's going to come and talk. Wendy Garvin's coming to talk. We're actually looking for 3 other homeless advocates and housing advocates who want to come and talk as well. And their invitations are out, so they need to reply quickly. With that, thank you so much for joining me. Remember, if you like this content and you want to engage to a greater degree with your local community, go out and subscribe to either Utah Stories print magazine for $3 or our free digital newsletter. And from utahstories.com, you can subscribe to either one. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.